In this lesson, we're going to finish bringing in the static meshes for the level walls. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish up the back wall. This one will be pretty easy to do. Really all we have to do is take one of these. Actually, let's take this one right here because well, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. I was thinking that the pivot point was going to be on the back corner, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and just rotate this out 90 degrees, but before we do that, let's hold down Alt and then rotate that out. And then we'll grab our Move tool and we'll just pull that to the back here. And that should line up pretty well. Okay, we shouldn't have any odd changes to that. We shouldn't see anything sticking up or anything like that, so it's looking good. And then I'm going to hold down Alt and I'm going to drag out one more, and I'm going to go to this side here. And I just want to make sure that that's right up against that wall, and that looks good right there. Now we have one extra space here, and that is going to be for the door. Now I have a wall for the door, so let's go ahead and bring that in. It's going to be the 400 by 400 wall door. And let's drag that into 15_begin, and then we'll drag this into our scene. And I want to make sure that my position on this is exactly the same as the other. And what I'm looking at is my Z position, and so I'm going to set this to 0. Actually, I think I need to set it to 10, yeah. That's what we did. Because the other walls are also 10. Okay, so that is set. Let me go ahead and type that in again. I'm not really sure why it tries to offset those values a little bit when we try to type those in. Yeah, it's fairly close, so I'm just going to leave it. Alright, so with this wall, we want to go ahead and push that back, and we want that to be even here. And if it helps, let's go to our top view, and let's just check out how this is sitting. Now you'll notice that this door, the wall, is fit right on the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in and I'm going to go 1 grid point, and we'll go 2, and there we go. Now what I want to do is I want to actually take this wall and I'm going to push it to where it's butting up right against that door there. Okay, so this one's going to be a little longer, and this one here we're going to do the exact same thing. So let's pull this back. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it right up against this wall, just like that. Okay, so now this one is sticking over a little too much. So let's grab our scale, and we're going to scale that in our X direction, and let's do something like 0.74. And let's go ahead and just do 0.7, dragging that down a little bit more, 0.6. So in between 0.7 and 0.6, let's go ahead and do 0.64, and let's do 0.65. Alright, so that looks good there. It's butting right up against that. Now whenever you scale walls, remember it is going to scale the texture, and so you want to just be careful about that overall size. Now you may look and see if there's any other walls that might work. See if you have a wall that's maybe 200 instead of 400 on its width, but it looks like that is the only one that we can work with there. So it's okay, it's not really that big of an issue. Let's go ahead and take this scale down. Let's do 0.64, and let's go to 0.74, 0.75, and I was just pulling those numbers out. Okay, so if you think that 0.74 is an odd value, I was just going with an even value. Okay, alright, so there we go. We've got those walls in. Let's go ahead and go to our perspective view, just kind of check out what we have here. That looks good. I'm happy with that. Now what we want to do is we want to take care of these interior walls. Actually, you know what? Let's do the ceilings first. So let's bring in the static mesh for the floor. We'll drag and drop that into the level, and I'll just drop this into the scene here. Just to get going, let's go to our top view. Hit F on the keyboard to frame in on that. And actually, that's the wrong floor. Excuse me. Let's go to Content Browser and DT Architecture. Then let's use the static mesh floor. Drop that in. And we're just going to place this. And I want to get this as close as possible. This may not be the exact size that we need, but I'm going to take a look at where it needs to be. It needs to go over 2 spaces here. So Let's go over 2 grid points. And just kind of take a look at what we have there. That's good. It's going to be a little off, but it's okay. It's not that big a deal. And then look at the top there. The top is good. And let's take a look at the bottom. And that's good as well. Okay. Now, actually, let's see. How far off? Yeah, that's good. That's okay. Okay, so now that we have that set, let's go ahead and position that in the side view. And what I want to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and set this at 0 on the Z. Okay, and you'll notice that it looks like it has disappeared, but if we go to our perspective view, it is there. It's just perfectly matched up with our other BSP brush. Now with this, I'm going to go ahead and hold down Alt and drag that up because I also need my ceiling. And before I do that, let's actually turn on the snapping to something like 100. I'll hold Alt, and I'm going to drag that up. And I'm actually going to go to 400 on the Z, because remember, we had our height set to 400 on our walls and everything. So that's where that is going to be positioned. Alright, so that looks good. Now what we can do, that we have all of those outside walls, we can start to get rid of some of these brushes. So for example, we have the cylinder brush. You can see that selected in your scene outliner. Let's go ahead and delete it. Let's go ahead and select one more. Let's try to get that other one. We may have to come in and look through all of our brushes. Now I don't want those pillars just yet. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one. We'll leave that one for now. And I'm just trying to get the brushes that make up the outside walls. So that, I believe, is one. Yeah, let's go ahead and delete it. You'll notice that it leaves this wall behind. Let's go ahead and delete it. And let's see, what else do we have? That's that. And just kind of going through all of the different brushes that I have. So I'm going to delete it. Let's take a look. That cylinder brush needs to go away. And all the brushes should be on top, so just kind of double check those. Oops. Make sure that I don't have the window. Now it could also help if you go to like your top view. And you can kind of see those in there, so just delete that out. And all of the other brushes should be gone at this point. That's one brush on the inside. Okay, so we look good there. Let's go to our perspective. And this is your level with the brushes, or with the static meshes. You'll notice our floor is just a little too low, actually. Let's go ahead and bump that up. Let's do 10 on that. That should give us exactly what we need. Alright, great. So there we go. We've got our static meshes in. We've got some gaps here and there that we'll need to cover, but we have pillars that are going to cover that up. And I'm pretty happy with the way this is laying out. So let's go ahead and move on into our next lesson, where we're going to replace the pillars, and we'll replace those, and then we'll also bring in those interior walls. So we'll get started with that next.